The cracked asphalt of old Route 66 stretches across miles of forgotten desert. A historic highway once filled with travelers, now mostly silent, where the sound of tires rolling across broken pavement echoes through abandoned towns. Many drivers pass through these desolate stretches seeking nostalgia and adventure. Yet some who travel the forgotten sections report encounters so unsettling, they wish they had never taken the detour. Tonight on True Terror Files Official, we explore 3 creepy, true hitchhiking horror stories from abandoned sections of Route 66, where isolation turns simple. Rides into chilling encounters no traveler expected. Before we begin, ask yourself, if you were driving alone across an empty desert highway and someone stepped out of the darkness asking for a ride, would you stop? Many people believe kindness would guide their decision. Yet these stories reveal how a lonely road can quickly turn a helpful gesture into terrifying uncertainty. If you enjoy real suspense stories, mysterious encounters, and chilling road legends, make sure to subscribe to True Terror Files Official for more unforgettable stories waiting in the shadows. Story 1. The Vanishing Passenger. Our first story begins with photographer Daniel Harper. He decided to drive an isolated portion of Route 66 late one evening, documenting abandoned gas stations and fading roadside landmarks. As a cold desert storm rolled through, Daniel noticed a lone figure standing beside a closed service station. Holding out a thumb beneath the flickering light of an old neon sign. Feeling sympathetic, Daniel pulled over and offered the hitchhiker a ride toward the next town, where the quiet passenger introduced himself simply as Ryan Mitchell. During the drive, Ryan calmly described nearby buildings and motels that Daniel quickly realized had been abandoned decades earlier and no longer appeared on modern maps. The conversation became increasingly unsettling as Ryan spoke about the highway, as if he had been watching travelers pass through the area for many years. When Daniel finally glanced into his rearview mirror to continue the conversation, he suddenly noticed the backseat appeared completely empty. Startled and confused, he pulled over immediately and checked the car, discovering the passenger door had never opened since he began driving. Story 2. Dead Man's Curve. The second story follows traveler Laura Bennett, whose road trip across Arizona took an unexpected turn. After her car broke down near a sharp bend, locals quietly refer to as Dead Man's Curve. After waiting nearly an hour beside the road, Laura finally saw headlights approaching through the darkness. As the pickup truck slowed and stopped nearby, the driver introduced himself as Ryan Mitchell, claiming he often helped stranded motorists traveling through the quieter parts of the highway. At first, the ride felt reassuring, but Laura soon noticed the driver repeatedly glancing at something hidden beneath a blanket, resting on the passenger seat. As the truck continued deeper into the empty desert road, Laura realized the driver was steering away from the nearest town. Trusting her instincts, Laura calmly asked to stop for fresh air, stepping out of the truck the moment it slowed, before quickly walking toward a distant roadside diner light. When she turned back moments later, the truck had already disappeared into the desert highway as quietly as it had arrived.
Oh.
Story 3. The Motor Court Whispers. Our final story begins when urban explorer Daniel Harper returned to Route 66 months later, with his friend Laura Bennett to photograph an abandoned motor court motel once popular during the highway's golden era. The structure stood half-collapsed beneath the desert moon, its broken lobby windows revealing dusty furniture and faded travel posters. From a forgotten generation, as they explored the silent building, both suddenly heard a distant voice calling out softly from somewhere deeper within the abandoned hallway. First they assumed another traveler had arrived nearby, yet the voice continued echoing through the empty motel, repeating their names in a slow whisper. When Daniel stepped into the lobby corridor, he briefly noticed a figure standing beside the staircase before it moved out of sight. Behind a collapsed wall, moments later, the sound of footsteps echoed from above, even though the entire second floor had partially collapsed years earlier. Unsettled by the strange voices and shifting shadows, the two explorers quickly left the property and returned to the safety of the highway. Final reflection: 3 encounters along the same forgotten highway, each reminding travelers that isolation can create situations far more unsettling than any ordinary roadside stop. Old Route 66 still attracts adventurous drivers seeking history and nostalgia, yet its quiet, abandoned stretches remain unpredictable after dark. Many parts of the road pass through remote regions, where help may be miles away and cell signals often disappear entirely. Because of that isolation, travelers must rely on awareness, careful judgment, and preparation when exploring historic highways. Sometimes the most important decision a driver can make is whether to stop or keep driving. When encountering strangers on a deserted road, stories like these remind us that the open road can hold mysteries far stranger than the landscape surrounding it. If you enjoyed these chilling encounters, tell us in the comments which story left you thinking twice about your next road trip. And remember to subscribe to True Terror Files Official, because sometimes the most unsettling stories are still waiting somewhere down the road.